Hey friends, welcome back to the last episode of Hot News for the week. It's Friday, we gotta get down, so let's do it. Let's get into it and talk about the news, which is some Xbox Series S news. This is the one that everybody has been excited for because the Series X is just gonna be out of reach for most every people. That's at least how I'm expecting it. I potentially think that the console could cost over $600. However, as we're about to delve into this article about somebody speculating with regards to the Series S, I say speculating, but they actually say they have sources for all of this, that's the price is going to be nowhere near as expensive as what I'm thinking. And I mean, I'm just basing my pricing of the Series X based on the comparative PC pricing. So if Microsoft's able to get anywhere near this, it'd be pretty phenomenal. So the idea is that the Xbox Series S, also known as Project Lockhart, will be half the price of the Xbox Series X, and that this will be unveiled in July, and that July will basically be the month for Xbox. June has kind of been just taken over by Sony and PS5. I mean, we've seen PS5 memes everywhere, so that's the general idea behind the Series S idea, is that that's going to be the push thing in July. Well, let's go ahead and look at what the actual leaker has said. This is coming from Eastman on the Beyond 3D forums, who has had access to Microsoft insider information previously, and he seems to speculate that it is going to be costing half the price of the Series X, but he expects that the Series X is going to cost $400 because Sony is looking to drop the PlayStation 5 at $500 or $600, so Microsoft's looking to undercut them. So Series X being $400, and the idea is that Microsoft doesn't need the console to make any money, and they'll just make up all of the losses with getting a higher cut of the game sales and more game subscriptions to Game Pass and Project X Cloud. So if the Series X is $400, Series S $200 for the entry-level new generation console from Microsoft. Adding, in addition to all of that, Microsoft wants to become what Netflix basically is to streaming. That is, they're going to provide games on servers everywhere, and that the Series S will be their ability to do that, dropping it in at a price that's not been seen before on a launch console that could allow them to get into more homes and give people an ability to play on Project X Cloud, which allows them to stream to all of their homes. Obviously, it's not as cheap as something like a cool Stadia, but a $200 Series S that can still play games locally, but then can also stream games could allow that to happen. And the last little thing that I think is intriguing to take away from this is that we're going to be surprised at the size of the Series S, saying that it could potentially be down to a Fire TV size. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly Google what a Fire TV size is. Okay, yeah, I could maybe see that. If they really tried to pull off the Cube idea, that's a possibility. Hopefully he means the Fire TV Cube and not the Fire TV dongle, because there's no way they're getting it down to that size. Hell no. But this is a maybe ability. Even then, I'm really skeptical. I don't know about all that. The size thing really freaks me out. Also, the pricing doesn't sound about right. Obviously, console manufacturers do tend to manufacture them at a loss on launch and try to make that up with game sales, but $400 for what the Series X is packing seems like a pipe dream to me. Obviously, we have to wait until Microsoft officially announces it, but let me know what you think of the Series S. Do you think it'll cost $200? Do you think it'll be in the size region of a Fire TV? Do you think that getting everybody having a console to enable streaming is a good strategy for Microsoft to take? I'm keen to hear from you guys and your opinions down below in the comments. And I can hear the opinions of gamers everywhere with the collective groan of "aww," because CD Projekt Red announced yesterday on Twitter that they are indeed delaying Cyberpunk 2077 yet again until November 19th. There will be previews coming on June 25th, but they're slipping the release date another 2 months. This is a good thing according to my brain, because this means that they're not going to be shipping a broken game. It is a bad thing according to my heart, because I've been desperately wanting to play this game for years, as I'm sure many of you have. But CD Projekt Red hasn't really let down the consumer recently, so here's to hoping. And here's to hoping that Spider-Man Miles Morales is going to be a good game. We got some more information coming out of an interview that was taking place. Number one, it is going to be a 10 to 15 hour standalone game akin to Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. That general idea. It's going to take place about a year after the original Spider-Man game, and you can see Miles Morales is going to have new abilities over what Peter Parker had, including the likes of invisibility and electricity, which was shown off in Into the Spider-Verse. And in case you want to play Square Enix games on GeForce Now and you're kind of sad that Square Enix actually pulled them away, well, according to NVIDIA, they are now back on GeForce Now. 14 new games being added to GeForce Now, including Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and Mankind Divided, the new Tomb Raider trilogy, as well as a few other games from Square Enix dropping on there. And speaking of game streaming, Google announces that there's going to be another Stadia Connect on July 14th. The last one took place in April, so having a new one 3 months later is about time. But I think this GIF over here kind of estimates everybody's feelings on this. It's a snooze, but I still want to talk about Stadia because I don't want it to die. So I'm just going to keep bringing it up every time there's Stadia news. You guys are going to keep getting it because it's Brett's Stadia time. And it's time for AMD to be hit from some security vulnerabilities. Intel's had thousands, okay? It's time for AMD to have a problem. Well, turns out that there is a new problem. The new SMM callout privilege escalation vulnerability affects AMD's platforms between 2016 and 2019. However, AMD has come out saying that they're working with the person who actually sent the bug report, and they even thanked him in their press release on this and saying that there should be a BIOS update for this that should have zero performance impact. So they're going to fix all of it. Good to see them working on that. And looks like they fixed their mobile GPUs because hot dang, there are benchmarks coming out for the Radeon Pro 5600M, which we talked about 2 days ago, which is going into the MacBook Pro 16-inch edition. And look at these benchmarks. This blows every other mobile GPU that we've seen out of the water, at least from AMD. And even if you look at the Unigine Heaven benchmark, it beats the Vega 56 and 48 that were in the iMac Pros. This Navi card is just absolutely setting a new standard when it comes to mobile GPU usage in Macs, obviously, but this would be good on a PC as well. So dang, that's exciting stuff. And you might be slightly excited for Intel's new Xeon chips. I'll leave a link in the video description in case you're one of the 10 people who watch our channel who care. I would suspect as many people who are going to care about the Xeon chips from Intel are going to care about Alphacool's new radiators. But I saw this one right here, and this just screamed to me, hey, Linus could have really used that when he did the whole room water cooling setup, because look at this janky way that he got radiators set up over here, fusing 4 different radiators together. They could have just used a couple of these, or maybe even one of those, and had a much better time. Who knows? Alphacool releasing a product 6 years too late. And Elgato releasing a product maybe a couple months too late. The Elgato dropping their first line of premium microphones, the Wave 1 and Wave 3. They seem to be phenomenal based on the reviews that I've heard. The audio quality is really great. The software that comes with these microphones seems to be the real selling feature because it allows you to control basically everything that you could possibly want to the tune of what has been used with Go XLR in the past. Now you can find that with these Elgato Wave microphones. I would highly recommend you check out the review by Alpha Gaming. Harris Heller did a great job on that. I'll leave a link in the video description for his, or you can just click that card right up there. Alpha Gaming doing good stuff there. But this is something that we actually use for our live streams over at twitch.tv/UFDisciple for our hot news live stuff. Rode sent over their Rodecaster Pro, and this is how we actually get all of our microphones and do everything the way we do things. Anyways, they just announced a software update that gives you granular controls over noise gates and a whole bunch of different other stuff that's happening. I'm excited about this. You might not care anything, but this actually changes a lot about how we're going to have to set up our stream and gives us more control, which I'm very thankful for. And if you've been on Mac, you've had very little control over your ability to stream. Well, Twitch has now put its streaming software in for Mac in beta, the Twitch Studio beta coming out for Mac users in case you want to stream. And in case you want to make sure that your accounts are protected, you should probably more than likely have two-factor authentication turned on. Well, Google is announcing that they are going to default to phone notifications over SMS notifications because they say that they're more secure. So it's basically a pop-up that occurs on your screen, and then you have to do the two-factor that way. Speaking of screens, though, there is now the world's lightest 15.6-inch touchscreen monitor that has launched on Kickstarter. It is a 1.1-pound portable monitor that actually looks to be pretty decent and has raised all of its funding. As you can see here, it's just past that $10,000. It is very slim, does really well. There is a touch variant of it, and it seems to be something that I would be highly interested in, and the price isn't awful for portable monitors. But what was awful was Zoom's inability to think that people who don't pay for their service might need end-to-end encryption. Well, after everybody was like, hey, Zoom, that's a bad idea, they have now announced that Zoom will have end-to-end encryption for both paying and non-paying users of the video conferencing service. Good. Thank you, Zoom. Pretty cool. And thank you, Facebook, for allowing people to turn off political ads. Yes, now you will be able to turn off all political advertisings on your Facebook. Obviously, as I say this, there's dozens of people typing down below in the comments saying, I haven't used Facebook in years. Well, for those of you who still do, you don't have to necessarily get political ads. Or in case you like them and it helps you to stay abreast on how things are going down, you could keep them enabled. I don't know. But in case you didn't want to get off Windows, but you are forced to use Chromebooks for some reason, I don't know. Parallels has teamed up with Google to bring fully featured Windows applications to Google Enterprise Chromebooks, which aren't the exact same as Chromebooks, but they're the more enterprise version. Speaking of enterprises, apparently speed running video games is an enterprise, and Billy Mitchell, who is known to hold several world records in Donkey Kong and Pac-Man for his speed runs on a bunch of different games, well, he has been reinstated by the Guinness Book of World Records because they said that there just wasn't sufficient evidence to support the disqualification across the board as far as removing all of his scores. And they said that there was a lot of new evidence that came in. So when it's kind of conflicting and they can't necessarily prove that anything went wrong, they said that they rely on the original adjudication. So that's what they're going back to, and they can't just remove all of his benchmarks. And in case you're not familiar, Billy Mitchell is suing Twin Galaxies for defamation, and that court case is scheduled to start on July 6th. So we might see more of this stuff breaking down. Billy Mitchell, world records, getting all tangled up in the weeds, and I'm sure you cared about that. I'm sure you cared about everything that happened this week in hot news. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Thank you to everybody who has shown support with regards to the UFD Tech channel being taken down by YouTube. It has meant the world that we've seen a lot of support pour out for us. A lot of people made videos, a lot of people tweeted at YouTube. It's been very much appreciated, and a lot of you decided to support us financially as well through this time. It's meant a lot. So thank you so much. Hopefully we'll be back on UFD Tech sometime soon, maybe even with the next episode of Hot News. I'm not quite so sure, but until then, I bid you adieu. I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry I said that. That sounded weird coming out of my mouth. Goodbye.